Say, kids, what time is it?
It's kind of like watching TV, but, in your car.
104.7 The Cave, Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens in the studio at Stark Side of the Stream, episode 154
That
this
might be
week.
The first time I didn't have a phone issue.
We didn't have a phone issue.
Right
We
out
didn't
the
have
gate,
an audio
it worked.
issue.
It didn't go
Didn't
crazy.
fall. We actually took the time this morning to set up before we actually hit record.
Wow.
So.
That's
Progress. This week was Jay's pick. It is a docu-series, if you can call it that, on HBO Max.
documentary, right?
Well, 3 docu-series, but it's only 3 episodes. I thought it would, but it was perfect. We'll get into that. It's perfect amount, really. But it's called Telemarketers. It just premiered, I believe, last month. And Jay picked this because he worked at a telemarketing firm. I also worked at a telemarketing firm. So let's start off there. Jay, where did you telemarket at?
Hollywood in the mid 90s.
Where were you
90s.
selling? Where were you selling?
It was a place where all the rockers went and worked, because it was super flexible and nobody really cared what you look like.
As long as you met your quota.
As long as you made some sales or whatever. And so I was one of my daughter's friends' moms who I was fooling around with. She was
surprise.
She was like, "Oh, I can get you a job working for this company that I work for or whatever." And she worked in the office part end of it, or the legit part of the operation, I guess.
The one that doesn't have to sell anything. Yeah.
So I show up there and it's all dudes in bands and drug addicts. And it was selling copier toner for the copy machine.
So would you guys have a call list, like the people that bought these copiers, and you just go down and say?
Not at all. It was way sketchier than that. This is kind of pre-internet, or right when the internet was just starting. So it was, they would buy copy toner from Staples for say $30, but they would sell copy toner for $150. So you'd go in every day and you'd find a different phone book from every state known to man, every city known to man. You just grab one, go through, and you would pick, okay, what's a good nursing homes were good people to.
So you'd actually target businesses.
Yeah. So you'd call up and you say, "Hey, how you doing? This is Jay Stevens calling on the copier today. Or how are you doing? Good. Oh, yeah, I see that you're due for a few more cartridges of the toner, but you'd have to get the model number of the copier because you didn't know what it was. That was the key. You had to know what kind of copier they had. So yeah, I'm looking at your order here, which this is nothing at all. You don't even know their name. You got to ask their name. What's your name? Yeah. Are you in charge of ordering the supplies for the office? That's right. Okay. And then you go through and you go, I don't see the copier brand. The model number of that copier. For some reason, it's not on the invoice. Can you go take a look and see what it is? And if they go and get the copier number, you know you're in. So I'll put you down for 4, I guess. That's what you usually order. Yeah, sure. Okay, cool. Awesome. And then you send them over to the closer guy, and the closer guy finishes the paperwork. So, yeah.
Wow.
But it wasn't always that easy. It was not always that easy.
No, not at all. How long did you work there for?
Not long.
How many sales you make?
Not a whole lot, but it was easy. You could show up kind of whenever you wanted, and you could leave whenever you wanted. It was super low key. The guy next to me, his fake name was Steve Marshall. It was Marshall Stacks. He was a guitar player in a band. One of the guys from Buck Cherry worked in the room for a while. Again? Jay Stevens was my.
That's how this all started.
That's how this all started.
Yes. Wow. Okay. That's awesome. All right. Well, I guess we're done. We don't even need to talk about the documentary. We just made our own.
What about you, Mike? What was your
I worked after my food service jobs throughout my teens. Can't remember the last one I had where I was like, I'm done with this, man. I'm not doing food anymore. Same kind of thing. Like some chick or somebody said, hey, there's a timeshare call center you should come work at. It pays good and it's kind of easy, a little bit more professional than what you describe and what was described in this docuseries.
Mine was more like this docuseries.
I wasn't getting tattoos and I definitely wasn't doing lines or smoking joints at my cubicle, but it was still sketch. It was definitely further along in our history where the no call list stuff started to pop up. It was basically the setup, whereas people would go when they would walk into certain outdoor stores and sign up for a chance to win an all-inclusive vacation in a place.
You guys,
and then, not necessarily this location or a certain location, but that was the deal. And then you'd enter, you put all your information, and then this company would essentially buy those lists, or they would be involved with it, or whatever. And then town and you'd say, "Hey, Mr. Stevens, are you and the family planning a vacation this year or something like that?"
I wasn't. But what do you got?
You know, it's interesting because
I was trying to hear your pitch.
oh, well, see, that's what I was going to say. I feel like I would be so much better at it because
I would
I
too.
understand sales a lot more in a different way than I did then. I also, my dad has been a sales guy my whole life, and I remember when I was younger, I asked him about how he did what he did, and he deals in commodities essentially, so it's stuff that's always going to be needed. But he also deals in product, and he always said the biggest thing is to believe in what you're selling, because then you can have conviction in what you're selling. So in our case, you and I, we're essentially selling ourselves. We're selling our radio station, our time, what we do, how we involve ourselves in the community, whatever. Even when you're on stage, you're selling yourself. And that's something that
we're selling my soul as well.
Well, and other parts of you. But do we have conviction in that? So it's easier for us to do that. And what these people were doing, either whether it was Toner Inc. or what I was doing with timeshares, or in essence collecting donations on behalf of police across the country. These guys had a good scam,
and they still have a good scam.
It's very difficult for these young kids to understand how to sell. But then when you got guys like Pat, who is in this, who is an older guy who understands and is a little bit older, they can make a killing, because it's just scammers with scammers. And then that's when this thing happened. So even though we spent literally no time in this break talking about the documentary,
we're talking about the business.
We're going to talk about that next. Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The Cave. Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens, back in the studio. Dark Side of the Stream, episode 154, docuseries Telemarketers on HBO Max or Max. I'm going to get that right one day. So we talked about our time in this. This documentary is actually really interesting because it involves a group that would basically give police officer organizations across the country a check for a lot of money.
Yeah.
And would
use their name, right?
All we want from you is the ability to raise funds on your behalf. And this is the amount we'll give for that stuff. And so on paper, it's legitimate.
Right.
But in reality,
it's a gray area.
It's like, for example, and they use this early on, if you were to donate $100, $25 of that goes to the police, which is great. But $75 of that go to the company that's doing this. In this case, it was what, CBD, CBG, CGB, C something. And it tells a story of a young kid working at a telemarketing company. And for whatever reason, this kid thought, I'm just going to shoot all the crazy stuff that's happening.
Because it was crazy.
Because it was crazy. The thing is, right out of the gate, and this one I want to start off with, is I get and they made this clear, they could do whatever they want as long as they met their quota. Tattoos, drugs, hanging out, being stupid, whatever.
Good place to work if you just got out of jail.
Or if you had an opportunity, you're out on the street. In this case, this kid had dropped out of school at the age of 14. Did no one in the company just say, "Hey, you guys are cool with the tattoos and the drugs, but can we not film any of this?" No one said that.
Right. I feel like
that's a huge overstep on their part.
Yeah, but I guess they were all just partying and having fun.
But nobody
thought there was going to be a documentary made about it 30 years later.
But still, someone in management, because if we'll get into who Pat is like an older guy that kind of helped him put this together early on when they figured out, or he kind of let him in on, hey, this whole thing's a scam, dude.
And then they really realized what a level of a scam
and how big it was. If he figured it out, that's what I'm trying to say is, if he figured it out, why didn't anyone upper management, definitely someone at some level in that building knew something was going on or had to have some sort of in. They had to. So again, how they let this kid film this stuff from the get-go just boggles my mind.
It was probably, the ones making all the money were the two guys at the so whoever the manager was for that phone office, all that manager is just a guy on the phones that was there long enough and did a good job, and then he became the manager of the room. You got to figure that's a tall order to manage all those characters, guys coming, guys not showing up, dudes getting arrested, he probably wasn't even there half the time, or he was probably just partying himself,
But at the end of the day, as long as they met that quota, that's all that mattered. So essentially the scam was this, they would call these people at home and say, don't you want to help the police? And you've seen those stickers, I'm sure, on people's vehicles that they're part of the fraternal order of this or that. There are legitimate organizations like that across the country that do exist, but this was also part of ones that didn't. And people were paying $100 for a sticker, and 25 of that goes to the police and 75 goes to this company, which just blows my mind.
Yeah, that's a lot of money these guys are bringing in.
So inevitably, you get the craziness of the scene from this teenager who's now almost living like an adult, working at a telemarketing place. He hooks up with this older guy who is just a character,
Wild,
and also definitely like doing everything he can to self-sabotage. But in all of this, they get together and they say, you know what, there's something going on here. We need to do some investigation. And
they sure do.
And they do. And that's exactly what we'll talk about next. Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The Cave. 104.7 The Cave. Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens back in the studio. Dark Side of the Stream, episode 154. So essentially, this young kid who's filming all this stuff at the telemarketing firm and the older dude, they start kind of doing their own investigation to try and figure out if they can, expose.
Well, like they're trying to figure out what's going on first,
yeah.
where all the money's going. And then they start going, we should expose this. Yeah.
Inevitably. And they actually went as far as to like hire some people off Craigslist and like, try and like further this. Inevitably, Pat just kind of disappears. And he's gone, which they end up getting him back later on. And that's a whole nother thing. But what I want to talk about is it's crazy. So it kind of just fizzled out. Nothing ever happened. This guy continued to shoot stuff. He ends up going out to California to work as a filmmaker, ends up getting involved, which this was wild to read about, filming foot fetishes on posting them on YouTube. And he, in the midst of all doing that, making whatever money you do doing that, which I'm sure there is a market for it. He was posting all these videos that he had recorded when he worked at the telemarketing place on YouTube as well. Because it really, if from a perspective, and I thought they did a good job.
Entertaining,
yeah,
for sure.
It's definitely entertaining. But the funny part is like he had all this stuff, and then eventually gets put in with a group and a guy who helps him kind of mold this into what it would be presented to us as telemarketers. So it's crazy. I wanted to bring that up, the journey all this took to actually get to be an HBO show. It just started posting like stupid videos on YouTube.
So wild.
But yeah, that's the whole craziness of this documentary, because like I said, it's like a screwy kind of company. His kid's like, well, man, I'm going to film this. And then years later was able to make a documentary.
Yeah. The one dude is too. He's like, once I do some heroin, then I'll sell better. And sure enough, the guy would do some heroin. And next thing you know, he's deals.
But that's the thing. Like, wow. If you worked in a telemarketing business or a telemarketing place, you've seen those people. You've worked with those people. I know I did, and I'm sure Jay did as well.
Some shady characters,
and all for $10 an hour. That's the other thing. Like they were like, you could work, do whatever you want as long as you made that. But I was like, $10 an hour.
Well, in the 90s,
yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, not bad. Not now though. We got our reviews next. Telemarketers on 104.7 The Cave. Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens back in the studio. Dark Side of the Stream, episode 154, discussing telemarketers. So how many no-call lists will you give this documentary?
3,
Yeah.
It was entertaining.
I'd say about 3,
It wasn't crazy, but it was entertaining.
No, I think they could have made it as an hour and a half long movie.
I did like the twist, how it actually evolved into these guys like meeting with congressmen.
Being involved in the no-call list thing.
Very interesting.
Because he worked for the company that got the biggest fine for doing this. It was several $1 million.
And they're still out there doing it today.
And that's what I was going to bring up. Like, and they kind of lead it into where it is now, where it's not these kids in a, doing drugs. Yeah. It's all AI. It's all robocall stuff. It's happening through text and emails, and it's just insane. But it will continue. As long as there's a will, there's a way to make money. They will try, and they are. They're just figuring out different ways to do it. You know what I didn't do?
Homework.
I didn't figure out what we were going to watch.
Mike's pulling a J right now.
Do
you want me to take another pick then next week?
Well, I mean,
I've got some gold. I'm sitting on some gold.
So give me what you're working with while I look at this right now.
I have 2 documentaries that I've been waiting since they announced they were making them. I've been waiting to find them.
Oh my God.
And I found them both for free on YouTube, on the internet. So they're both on Tubi for free.
Okay.
Do you want a darker subject, or do you want a fun, awesome subject?
Give me both. I want to decide either one.
One is called My Stupid Tribute Band.
Oh, well, that I kind of have to. I can't take that from you. I can't.
That's
I can't take that away.
Well, no, we'll share it.
I mean, well, that's true.
It follows
Yeah,
it follows the AC/DC tribute Back in Black
Uh-huh.
from their inception till now, and to the singer getting an audition for actual AC/DC, which is
Whenever they were doing the Axl thing. Oh, that's cool.
And he lost to Axl. He would have had the job
Well,
for Axl.
Poor
So that's an awesome documentary. And then the other one is The Guest List, the Great White Nightclub Fire in Rhode Island.
Oh man, that's gonna be a tough one. Okay, I'll take the guest list.
Take the guest
America's
list.
Deadly Rock Concert,
Yep,
the guest
America's
list.
Deadliest
Okay.
Rock Concert. The
That's
guest
what we'll
list.
watch next week. That's gonna be a toughie.
It's free on Tubi.
Yeah, I'll leave you the tribute band one because
All
we
right.
both will have a lot to talk about on that too because we both have been involved in that stuff for as long as we've been playing shows. Once we realize more people will show up,
Once
to
we
hear other
realized
people's
where the
music
money was,
for ours,
yeah,
that's exactly what we did.
that's where the money in the crowd is. Okay,
But that's yours. That's yours. We'll do
okay.
that.
So the guest list,
Yeah, guest list, the Great White Fire. That's gonna be
free on
tough.
Tubi.
And we'll definitely talk about some of the shady venues we probably played in.
Yes.
As always, stream these live, Facebook and YouTube, 9 a.m. on Thursday. Hear them on my show at 9 a.m. or Jay's show, 6 p.m. or as a podcast on our 104.7 The Cave app. I am Mike the
or
Intern.
we'll call you and sell you
We could.
our show.
You might get a phone call during your dinner time
Hey, I
tonight.
see that you ordered some episodes of Dark Side of the Stream. I just wanted to get an address to send these out.
Can I get your credit card?
Yep.
Anyway, we watch movies.
You,
So you don't have
documentary, so
to.
you don't have to.
Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The Cave.